Once upon a time, in a serene village nestled between lush green fields and towering trees, there lived a kind-hearted girl named Elena. With deep brown eyes that sparkled with warmth and hair that gleamed like silk under the sun, Elena was known not just for her beauty, but for her boundless generosity and wisdom that seemed to come from a soul much older than her years. Though her family was poor, their small wooden cottage was always filled with love, laughter, and a sense of peace that radiated warmth to everyone who visited. Elena spent her days reading books and helping the villagers, whether it was tending to the sick or comforting those in sorrow. Despite her humble life, Elena always dreamed of something more, a world beyond the village where she could learn, grow, and experience the mysteries of life. One bright afternoon, Elena wandered through the vibrant village market, where the air was thick with the scent of freshly baked bread and the colors of flowers and fruits in every stall. As she walked past the old wooden crates, her eyes met Adrian's. He was standing by a flower stall, admiring the delicate roses, his tall figure catching the sun's golden glow. His intense yet gentle gaze met hers, and in that moment, Elena felt as though time had stopped. The connection was instant, undeniable. Adrian was the son of the wealthiest family in the village, and yet there was something in his eyes that spoke of curiosity and longing. His heart, it seemed, was not entirely bound by the chains of wealth and status. They began talking, their voices soft but filled with excitement. Every word exchanged felt like a secret, a promise of something beautiful. They met often after that day, in quiet, hidden corners of the village or under the shelter of the ancient oak tree near the river. One evening, as the sun dipped low, casting a golden light on the water's surface, Adrian gently took Elena's hand and pulled her closer, their faces just inches apart. "I have never felt so at peace as I do with you," he whispered, his breath warm against her skin. Elena's heart raced, but she smiled softly, her cheeks flushing. "I feel the same way," she murmured, looking into his eyes. In that moment, their connection went beyond words, beyond the physical world. It was as if their souls had intertwined in that quiet, magical space between them. As the days passed, their bond grew stronger, and so did their feelings. They would walk along the riverbank, where the moonlight would dance on the water's surface, their fingers brushing occasionally, sending a shiver of excitement through their veins. They would speak of their dreams, their hopes for the future. Adrian shared his desire to travel the world, to see all the things he had only read about in books. Elena, in turn, spoke of her longing to learn, to make a difference in the world, and of the life she dreamed of beyond the village. Then one afternoon, beneath the ancient oak tree, as the breeze played with Elena's hair, Adrian gazed into her eyes with a love so deep it seemed to transcend time itself. He gently cupped her face with his hands, his thumbs tracing the soft lines of her jaw. "Elena," he said softly, his voice thick with emotion, "I love you. I cannot imagine my life without you. Will you marry me?" Tears welled up in Elena's eyes as she felt her heart swell with emotion. She had known from the moment she first saw him that this was where her heart belonged. "Yes, Adrian," she whispered, her voice trembling with joy. "I love you too." Their kiss that followed was soft, tender, like the first bloom of spring after a long, cold winter. In that kiss, all their dreams, their promises, and their love were sealed. But little did they know, their love would soon face the greatest test. When Adrian shared the news with his parents, they were furious. His father, with his cold eyes and hard words, demanded, "You cannot marry a girl with no wealth or status. You will ruin everything we've built." His mother, her face pale with shock, added, "If you choose her, you will lose everything. You'll be nothing." Adrian was torn between the woman he loved and the life he had always known. His heart ached as he faced the cruel reality of his situation. Unable to bear the weight of his family's expectations, he rushed to Elena. Their meeting was like the first time they had met, charged with that same electric energy, but this time the weight of their separation loomed over them. "Elena," Adrian said, his voice cracking with emotion, "I cannot live without you. But I am afraid of losing everything." Elena, her heart breaking at the thought of Adrian's pain, took his hands in hers. "I love you, Adrian, more than anything," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "But I don't want to be the reason you lose everything. You must follow your family's wishes. I will always love you, but we have to let go." With tear-filled eyes, they parted ways, their love unspoken but felt deeply. Elena stayed in the village, her heart torn, as she poured herself into her work. The villagers admired her kindness, but she often wandered to the riverbank, where the echoes of her love with Adrian lingered in the wind. Adrian, meanwhile, threw himself into his work, distancing himself from his emotions. Yet, despite the luxury and success that surrounded him, nothing felt right. One winter evening, as he sat alone by the fire, he found himself writing a letter to Elena. The words poured out of him, filled with longing and regret. "I miss you more than words can express. This world I've built for myself feels hollow without you in it. I thought I could live without you, but I was wrong. You are my heart, Elena. Always have been." But life, as it often does, had its own plans. Elena's father fell gravely ill, and when Adrian heard of her plight, he rushed back to the village. When he arrived, Elena was sitting beside her father, her face pale with worry. Adrian approached quietly, his heart pounding. He knelt beside her and took her hand, gently pressing it against his chest. "Elena, I am so sorry," he whispered, his voice full of emotion. "How can I help?" Elena smiled weakly, the familiar warmth of his touch filling her with comfort. "Your presence means more to me than you know," she whispered, her voice choked with tears. With Adrian's help, her father recovered. Their love, once distant, began to rekindle. In the quiet moments when they were alone, Adrian would brush his fingers across Elena's cheek, tracing the delicate curve of her face. Elena would close her eyes, savoring the warmth of his touch, feeling as though the world had faded away, leaving only the two of them in their own little universe. When Adrian left for the city, they shared one last kiss at the train station. It was soft, full of unspoken promises, as if they both knew that one day they would find their way back to each other. Years passed, and though Adrian became successful, his heart always longed for Elena. He would write to her, sending letters filled with stories of his life in the city, yet no matter how many accomplishments he had, his heart always sought the simple, profound love they had once shared. Finally, after years of distance and yearning, Adrian returned to the village. When Elena opened the door, her breath caught in her throat. "Adrian," she gasped, her heart racing. He smiled, his eyes filled with the same love he had always carried for her. "I missed you more than you can imagine." And just as they had once shared their dreams beneath the ancient oak tree, they shared their love once more. The world around them faded, and all that mattered was the bond they had built, a love that had withstood time, distance, and adversity. They married in a small ceremony, surrounded by those who truly mattered. Their first kiss as husband and wife was a promise, one that would last beyond the confines of this world, beyond the boundaries of time. As the years passed, they grew old together, sitting on their porch, watching the sunset, hands entwined. Their love was a legacy, a reminder to all that true love doesn't fade. It only deepens with time. And when Elena passed away, Adrian whispered one last time, "You are my heart, Elena." And Elena's final smile was the kind that spoke of a love that could never be lost, A love that would live on forever.